Well, hello there. This is going to be a little experiment. I recently hosted a live on Instagram, and someone shared with me afterwards, like, wow, that was such a beautiful thing that you shared. Why did you stop so early? And it made me realize that up until now, whenever I've shared a live, either on Facebook or on Insta, I've always had like this one thing that I wanted to share, and nothing wrong with that. But I'm really curious to step into a different kind of showing up in those lives where you might get a bit more of a sense of how it is to be in one of my spaces where most of the stuff that's happening is just arising in the moment. So, for example, today we had a beautiful breathwork session in the Wealthy Leader program. It's one of the programs that I'm currently running. And the theme of the breathwork was simplicity. And what I guided the people into is the understanding that living your dream life, the life that you're meant to live, your deepest desires, is really, really simple. And whenever we have any sort of mental patterns on top of it that tell us that it's not that it's really hard, that it requires some sort of fighting, some sort of struggle, that is not reality. Or to put differently, that is a symptom of something, a filter, a layer that has put itself between me and reality. And if I don't see that that's what's happening, if I blindly believe the mental narratives that might be present for me, that I might have inherited from people around me or even generations ago, it has this self-fulfilling capacity, meaning if I believe that life is really hard, if I believe that living your dream life is super difficult, that's what it will become. Not because it's the truth, but because my belief has incredible creative power. And so learning to lean back into the truth, from my perspective, that living your dream life is simpler than anything else. It's simpler to live the life that you're meant to live than to be lost in your patterns. Life, God, the universe, however you want to put it, wants you to live your life of deepest joy, excitement, purpose. There are constantly benevolent forces that are supporting us in the direction of us living the life that we're meant to live. And we're constantly being invited and initiated into living that life, including things coming our way that feel really like undesired, things coming into our lives that we don't want to experience, challenges, hardships, disappointments, from this deeper truth of living my dream life is the simplest thing I could do, and life always wants me to move towards that. I look at any challenge coming into my life as an invitation to go deeper towards what I truly want to live. And it's so fascinating how the same unexpected thing coming into your life can lead to me, feeling super stressed and disconnected, frustrated, lost, making it mean that something has gone wrong and it shouldn't have happened and it's a sign that I'm not on the right track. Or I can meet it with curiosity and aliveness and with being like, oh, I wonder how this is helping me get closer to the life that I truly want to live. And because belief is a very strong creative force, depending on how I look at it, will massively impact how things are going to unfold. Hey, Sarah, so good you're here. So simplicity. Simplicity to me also means I don't need to have figured out the next 12 steps to my dream life from now to the next 3 years. So for example, I've had one client last year who we agreed for her to leave my container because she said, David, I want step-by-step instructions for the next 6 months of how I can grow my business. And I was like, that's not what I do. That's not what I do, because I don't think that that's how life works, and I don't believe that that's how business works. That's an incredibly complicated approach to running your business. Now, of course, if you are a multi-million-dollar business, yeah, it probably makes sense to plan ahead. But if you're an entrepreneur, like I am, then very likely you don't need to know exactly what's going to happen 6 months from now. And it's much more likely that your mind wanting to know that is a safety mechanism and is actually coming from fear and is highly likely complicating your life and your business, because you don't need to know what's happening 6 months from now. If there is true inspiration, like, oh, I want to host a retreat in 6 months, great, go for it. But not because you have to know, but because there's an inspiration for that. And I have periods where I don't even know what's going to happen in like 2 weeks from now. And then I have periods where I plan more ahead, a couple of months. But I don't plan ahead because I'm afraid that if I don't plan, that everything will fall apart. The base is simplicity. The base is that life is constantly conspiring in your favor. And so if I feel like I have to be in control and I have to know exactly the next 20 steps, I'm probably not going to be available for the invitations that life is constantly sending my way. I'm probably going to look at anything unexpected as something that shouldn't have happened, right? Like the stronger I have an agenda of like, this is what I want to accomplish and this is how it's going to happen. This is the one way it's going to happen. The more I have this kind of agenda, the more anything unexpected happening will feel like failure, will feel like I've done something wrong. So the skill is, you want to be deeply connected to what you desire. You want to feel it deeply in your body, the possibility of what you're here for, and start embodying it in this present moment as an energetic reality that is already here, 100%. That is what I do with people in the Highest Vision program. But you are not identified with one single way of how this greatest vision of yours comes into your life. You're open for it to come in many different ways. And your task is not to plan the next 12 months ahead, step by step, in your mind. The plan or the invitation is for you to be receptive while you're connected to this vision, to what your greatest inspiration is, and to start following that. So, for example, one conversation that I have quite frequently with entrepreneurs is this: when should I start hiring someone in my business? And this can become like an incredibly mental thing. My approach is, I only do that. I only start thinking, and I'm going to give you an example of my own business, when it clearly emerges. Like, I'm not like sitting here and being like, okay, well, 2 months from now, it would probably make sense to hire this person for that. No, like if there's a very clear need for something to be outsourced in my business, I acknowledge that and I become open for the possibility for someone to come into my business in a really nice and aligned way. And if I feel inspired, I might put up a post, whatever. But I'm not obsessing about it. I'm not sitting there and worrying about fuck, and if I don't meet someone, but it has to be the right person, blah, blah, blah. And so, for example, what's happened for me right now is I'm preparing the biggest online event that I've ever created in my business, Embody Business Leadership Summit. It's going to go live in about a month. And someone who I'm currently working with was like, hey, I'm curious if you're looking for support during this time to be in touch with the people who buy the program, blah, blah, blah. And I sat with it and I was like, yeah, that would be really awesome. Can you see how that's a very different way of letting things come into your life? How there's so much less needing to control in this and much more receptivity and availability for when something is ripe. So there is so much energy that gets lost in trying to predict things, thinking about things, thinking about our thinking, reflecting on our thoughts, that is not necessary and is complicating things. So whenever you feel like your life is really complicated, or there's something you want to bring to life, or a relationship, or whatever it is, and it feels really complicated, I invite you to check, what inner state am I operating from? Am I operating from the belief that this can be super easy? This can be really simple. Or am I already expecting this to be really hard? Am I already anticipating this to be really heavy and difficult? And I'm not saying that when something challenging comes up, like we all face challenges. That's another place where I could make it mean there's something wrong, blah, blah, blah. Or I could just acknowledge, oh, I'm probably adding some layers to my experience right now that are probably not necessary. Sometimes that might be enough for it to just fall away, and sometimes not. Sometimes it may take some time for me to see it super clearly so that I can then just let it go. But even just remembering that if I didn't add anything, if I didn't add any layers on top, life would be simple, is such a beautiful reminder to just see the contrast of like, oh, well, this area in my life really does not feel simple right now. Cool, great, that's beautiful awareness. So then I can start tracking, where am I adding something? Where am I adding assumptions to my experience? Where am I adding stories to my experience? Where am I operating from an old pain that is making this more complicated than it has to be? And people who are really fucking effective in getting what they want out of life operate from the belief that it is easy, that it's absolutely doable. And this belief alone makes a huge difference. Because then if a challenge comes up, I don't take it as proof of like, see, I knew I shouldn't have tried this. Wow, this is going to get so much harder. And be like, interesting. I wonder how this is helping me get towards what I want to accomplish. And simplicity does not mean I just sit around and wait for things to happen. It does not mean I just feel deeply within myself and then things will just fall into place. It also requires me to take action, but it requires me to take action from actual inspiration, like from an actual impulse, not from, okay, so if I want to accomplish 6 figures in my business this year, then I need to do these 3 things, blah, 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 blah. That for me is an old, controlled way of operating in life that is working less and less, especially for people who are into embodiment, who consider themselves to be sensitive, who can feel energies, because something in that is off, because it's coming from a paradigm of control. It's coming from a paradigm of, I don't trust and believe that life is on my side. It comes from the belief that I have to manipulate life into giving me what I want. I'm this separate being that has to push its way through life to get what it wants. Very powerful. So if that's how I operate, that's what I'm going to experience. Simplicity. And I experience that it takes courage to operate from this place, because most of our current modern world does not operate from this understanding that living your dream life is easier than anything else. So people are going to call you all sorts of things. People will be really triggered by you. People also, and this is an interesting one, people will put all sorts of stories on top of you of why you are successful and they are not. Because if I see someone who has something that I truly want, let's say, so one of the intentions that I'm holding right now, something that is part of my highest vision right now, is that I am the frequency of a multi-6-figure business. That's what I'm moving towards. So if I see someone who is living that in a way that feels aligned to my values, because obviously there's lots of people out there who are doing that in a way that does not feel aligned to me. But if I see someone living that and I have a sense that they're not manipulating people, they're not scamming people, they're legitimately helping people have a better life and earning good money, I have 2 choices. One is I find a reason why there's something wrong with what they're doing, so that I can stay where I am and just say something like, yeah, well, or I find some kind of reason why there's something special about them that I don't have, and that's why they're successful. And so that can look like, well, they're just very pretty, so it's easy. Or, well, they come from a rich family. Or, well, they come from a very poor family, and so they have a kind of competitive drive that I didn't have because I grew up in an environment where, my safety was never in danger. And the belief can go in any kind of direction. So that is one option. The other is, well, they have something that I don't have, and I want that. And I can let myself be inspired by that. And I don't have to make any stories about why they have what they have, blah, blah, blah. I just see, oh, they've brought something into their life that I find deeply inspiring. So it's possible for me. And this is one of the things that I keep on sharing with clients. One of my greatest skills is that I've continuously brought people into my life who I was deeply inspired by. So whenever I meet someone where I'm like, holy shit, you are embodying something that I find deeply inspiring, I find a way for this person to be part of my life, and I don't care if I become their client, if I start working for them, if we become friends. Doesn't matter. What matters is that I want this person to be in my life because they're embodying something that I'm deeply inspired by. And this is another layer of simplicity. It's like, surround yourself with the things that you want in your life. Of course, I can read books. I can mentally connect to that. Or I just put myself in the presence of people who are embodying the things that I want. Simple and very effective. Now, simple can also be complex at the same time. So, for example, as I've shared with you, I'm preparing the biggest online event that I've ever created, Embodied Business Leadership Summit. There's a lot of steps to be taken. A lot. It's been like the work of a couple of months, almost since the beginning of this year. So yeah, this is complex. But if I break it down, it's simple. It's one thing after another. So even the most complex, elaborated projects, things you want to bring to life, if you break them down enough, and if you relax into, I just do one thing after another, it becomes simple. And if I were to look back at my last almost 10 years of entrepreneurship, there's some complex things that have happened over this time, like me shifting what I stand for, who I serve, what my offers are, all that stuff. But when I was in it and I was able to break it down, it was simple. It was me deeply connecting to the vision that I had for what I want to bring to life, and then following the inspiration one step at a time. And so if I stay rooted in that simplicity, I will be much more available and receptive to the unexpected inspirations that will come. And I will be able to create the most complex things because they will be guided by greater intelligence than my mind. So that is what I got on the theme of simplicity. If you want to dive deeper into my work, this week I'm opening 2 spots in my Embodied Business Leadership program. We have an amazing community of entrepreneurs in there already. Today we had Wealthy Leader Breathwork. It's a very powerful 1-year program helping you grow your business in the most soul-aligned way. And I'm opening 2 spots at a reduced rate until the end of this week. So if that speaks to you, you can send me the word leader and we can have a short conversation of where you're at, what's going on for you, and how I can best support you create the life that you want to live. So with that, I'm wishing you a beautiful evening. Appreciate you. If you enjoyed this, do give it a like. Let me know something in the comments that you're here. And I'm sending you all my love.